Classic, it's my jam, yo. Night of Hunters, Torrent, Druids, Undead Rogues. I waited for a long time to scratch my itch. BFA, classic what it is, bitch. Walking down the barrens for like 20 minutes. Chuck Norris jokes, real gaming, that's my ish. Gain a level,
woo!
Talent point. Elite quest, find a group to join. 4 straight 4-step leather belt. The greatest feeling ever felt. What's Rujay got? Future content. Wait till Classic BC, that's the future content. So it's gonna be called Bob's Beats. You wanna buy my mix over at iTunes?
It's iTunes. Man, I hate today's rap.
Why, man? It was super easy to write, like 4 minutes.
I know, that's that's the point, man. Hey everyone, it's Soul, and this is Warcraft Weekly, the show that highlights all the cool Warcraft stuff that happened this week, and I give a couple of opinions here and there.
And I give all the facts.
This show is brought to you, as always, by our beautiful sponsors, and if you want to be one, take a look at a link below. And you know, I don't know how to come back from that opener.
Because it was so awesome? Hey, I know. I'll team up with Jay, the Tavern Bard, and we'll have a hand session.
A jam session?
Yes.
Anyway, let's do some Warcraft stuff. As usual, we have updates on the WoW of today, yesterday, and tomorrow, including some of the reactions from players now that we've passed week 1 of the WoW Classic Beta. And we're going to touch on my personal experience in the 8.2 PTR after the full character wipe that happened last week. What's the experience like? Will this make it to live? And when? When's the patch? And just as important, when is Season 3 going to start? First though, let's talk up some classic WoW. Like I said, it's been about a week or so since the beta started, with tens of thousands of interested players watching over Twitch, and not so many thousands who are in the beta. It's been very entertaining, super amusing to see the classic community rally together behind the so-called world-first level 30, while others wrestled with which leather belt to use, or what kind of weapon they ought to loot, when clearly a crafted wand is like the most efficient thing that you can use. It's like really cheap, and yeah, noobs. What I've been finding especially entertaining is the growing list of not bugs sent out by Blizzard. Here are a couple of my favorites. Quest objectives and points of interest are not tracked on the map or minimap. Feared players and NPCs run fast. That's kind of a favorite of mine as a warlock. Creature respawn rates are much slower than in Battle for Azeroth.
What? They're time-gating bombs now? Those monsters.
I admit that during my time on the beta, even I forgot where stuff was. I mean, no biggie, sometimes I forget about things. Keys lying around, I didn't set my alarm, or laundry, leaving doors open, the oven's on, appointments, birthdays, anniversaries, and prostate checkups. Remember to check prostate. Anyway, it's not surprising that old school players are having a different reaction to what's the same experience. Bugs aside, Classic WoW is meant to be the same experience as vanilla. We're not 15 years younger though. Here's another high-profile report that mobs were doing less damage than they should. The player's reference appears to be from their memory from vanilla, or maybe from their time on a vanilla private server. The problem is that the calculations for processing these damage numbers and values aren't done on the client, they're done on the server, meaning only Blizzard has the real information. Every other emulated experience, no matter how Blizz-like the attempt, is based on guesses. So Blizzard saw this report, then compared it to both their beta client and the original 1.12 client, and the numbers match. I'm not trying to say that classic players aren't going to have fun because yesterday was 2004 and today is 2019. There's clearly an interest in classic WoW, and people are definitely having fun. But there are those among you out there who are going to be a little bit disappointed. It's hard enough to re-engineer vanilla WoW into what the classic WoW is today, but you definitely can't re-engineer your brain.
Sure you can, you just...
Shut up. There's a lot to capture when Classic WoW comes out, and as of this date, it's only about 2 months away. People have been fighting, and they've been waiting for this for years. Sometimes, though...
You think you do, but you don't.
Earlier this week, there was a stress test for the WoW Classic Beta, and it went as well as you'd expect it if you were watching from the outside. Thousands of players jammed into the one beta server available for the test, and thousands more pounded at the gates. But not everyone managed to log in, including me, the unworthy.
You should have sang them a song.
I don't think so. The salt was palpable, and I get it. There are people who didn't get into the closed beta, but they did manage to get into the stress test invites, and yet they couldn't log in. That really sucks. But considering that there was only a level cap of 5 during this stress test, it's a little bit odd to see this much anger. I'm going to put on that old game tester hat of mine and furrow my brow a little bit, because let's get real, folks. There's a lot of you that are like, I ain't going to test Jack. I just want to play Classic because it's the best.
Because it's the best.
Underlining this point, fellow YouTube person Mr. GM went as far as to call out the notion that people are installing add-ons that disable the bug report feature, and I can understand the feelings behind that. Blizzard is offering to let us help test the game, and we should do our part in contributing by doing diligent reporting whenever we find problems. Personally, I think going as far as removing the bug report UI because it offends you is really scummy, but it doesn't mean you're contributing nothing. You're still a test resource. You're still a client running off a computer with specific hardware, an operating system, location, internet service provider, and a lot more other information. Trying and failing to log in is still useful information. A person not reporting bugs is still a person logged in and contributing to the load. Even sitting there doing nothing is something. Weird things might happen, and the WoW team will probably see it. It's just that your reporting always helps, and it's always appreciated. Anyway, according to Blizzard, there will be fewer and fewer invites to the full portion of the Classic Beta. There are going to be multiple stress tests coming, including an extra one next week on the 29th, so keep an eye on those clients. Blizzard is also testing the Honor System as well as Warsong Gulch over this weekend, so for those of you who are already in, dive right in. While the Classic hype train is definitely steaming along, patch 8.2 is also coming along very nicely, polishing itself up with each and every build. I'm being very honest with my feelings here. I've never felt this way about a patch before, as in excited. I've never been this excited ever. This patch has a lot of stuff to get. If you want, here's a list. Powerful abilities, gear, transmog, toys, pets, mounts, stuff to craft and make money off of. Bob has a huge dog and I love him long time. You son of a... It's a reasonably big patch. The magic, though, is that the features are systemically tied together in a way that's going to keep you engaged. Following up an item from last week, it turns out the PvP-related essence, this conflict and strife essence, is in fact a predetermined PvP talent and not a choice that we're given. This will mean that the essence will grant Steed of Glory, which is basically an AoE knockback with a 45-second cooldown, or with the related talent and Azeroth trait a 40-second cooldown and 2 charges. This makes them a much more reliable for, controlling multiple casters in dungeons, for example. I've logged in more hours to this PTR than like a bunch of previous PTRs put together. I think the work on my side paid off because I have a good bit of information to share with you, or it's more like speculation based on this information on when everything's going to happen. As you might know, last week there was a PTR wipe so we can get an idea of what the overall 8.2 experience is going to be like. I'm not going to spoil too many details. That's going to be for the upcoming guide and review that should be coming soon. It took a little bit over a week to complete the Nazjatar war campaign. There are a few quest bottlenecks that will slow you down, but you're still going to be engaged in the zone because there are strong incentives to kill rares, do dailies, and other activities with your followers. You could say that over the past week I've been doing, I'd say, above average farming, and by the time I completed the campaign I was at Honored Rep and I could access the essences from here and was pretty much a step away from getting one of them to rank 2. And even then, I barely scratched the surface of what there is to do in this zone. This campaign took much longer than the 8.1 campaign, which, for the most part, it could be done in just one sitting. Those questlines weren't really tied together at all aside from the sequence, you just did one after another. The 8.2 campaign, for lack of a better word, it feels more earned than the 8.1 or even the 8.0 campaign because it goes much deeper than simply, hey, do all the world quests, because you're out there. You're looking for a rare resource, or a reagent, or a treasure chest. You're even using certain items and terrain to get to that one rare elite, and it feels pretty good doing it. I progressed a little bit slower in Mechagon, due in part that some of the questing was still broken, and there's no big campaign to give you boatloads of reputation. But despite that, I got pretty close to Honored. Based on my pace, it's going to take maybe an additional week or so before I hit Revered with both factions. Add zone exploration to that, and I can speculate that it'll take roughly 3 weeks for above average farming to complete Pathfinder Part 2. And when you do, this shouldn't be long before Season 3 begins, because that brings in a whole other mess of stuff to do. Based on all of that, I can speculate on when stuff might be happening.
You're probably gonna be wrong.
Well, I got this Thrall thing right, so don't take that away from me, man. This week, players who kept the Gift of N'Zoth buff from the Crucible of Storms questline have started hearing voices, strongly suggesting that the patch will go live kind of soon. So next week is the last week of May. It's Blizzard's last chance to hold a developer Q&A until it's been 2 months since seeing your favorite game director. Even if there is a Q&A next week, it's not likely that we'll get a patch date. But I've been saying that 8.2 is going to launch around mid-June, so that'll be like 3 or 4 weeks from now. Based on the war campaign taking at least a week to finish, Season 3 definitely won't start on the first or the second week of the patch. It can start on the third week, but it wouldn't surprise me if Season 3, which includes the new raid, the Mega Dungeon, Mythic Plus, and PvP season, began 4 weeks after the patch. As a reference, Season 2 and the Battle of Dazara lore began 6 weeks after patch 8.1 went live. I've been saying this quite a bit without getting too specific, but I am still really impressed with 8.2. I feel it's got more depth and a longer tail than any mid-expansion patch that's come before it. And given the feedback that Blizzard has been getting over the past year or so, this is a patch that the game really needs. It's fun, it's involved, and there are lots of rewards and incentives like this insane crab mount. The method of obtaining it is no joke. Based on my experience in the PTR, it's going to take about 9 weeks to complete every achievement in Nazjatar, which awards this mount as well as a rank 4 essence. Before that, you're going to have learned to fly, and you'll have a crap ton of stuff collected. I've never said this before, I think at least. So I hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the ass, but I think this patch is the kind of patch that can restore faith in the World of Warcraft. But keep in mind, it doesn't give us everything that we want. It's not going to give us an improved social system. It's not going to revamp or fix overall class design. What Blizzard did with this patch is buy some time, and it makes their delivery of 8.3 as well as the next WoW expansion that much more important. That will take care of this week's coverage, but stay tuned to this channel by subscribing and hitting that bell so you know when I'm doing stuff. Throughout next week, I'll be giving some more focused feedback on certain parts of the patch, while also working on a reputation guide.
And coming soon, the best thing, the 8.2 survival guide. Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah, that's coming too in all its saltiness, but yeah, it's more like sea salt because Nazjatar and okay. Thank you all for making it to the end. Your support has kept this channel going for the past couple years, so spread the word about what we do for the WoW community and help it thrive even more.
And then we'll crush our enemies into the ground.
No, we gotta go, but we'll see you next week. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy.